Here is number 7 on your trig proofs packet number 1. And again, remember, anytime we're trying to do a proof, we have to choose one side and then start manipulating it with algebra and the trig identities we know and try to get it to be equal to the other side. So again, always try to choose the more complicated side, and if that doesn't work, you can try the other side. It's just a game you kind of have to play. So I again am going to choose the left side to start with. So I'm going to rewrite it to show, hey, this is the side I'm starting with. So 1 minus sine and then 1 plus cosecant of x. And again, I can't use this other side. I'm only doing this side and trying to manipulate it into this. So a lot of your guys' first thing is to put everything in terms of sine and cosine. But always look at your end. Not everything's in terms of sine and cosine here. So I'm going to leave it as is for now. And look at, well, I have something times something. So I'm just going to actually multiply these out. We do that foiling. So if I were to FOIL this, again, I have 1, and I'm going to times it by 1. 1 and times it by cosecant, so I get plus cosecant of x. And then I'm going to go negative sine times 1 is negative sine of x. And then negative sine of x times cosecant of x will be negative sine x times cosecant of x. So that's where I'm stuck at. I kind of already can see part of my proof lining up. This is a lot like my proof. But I still have this pesky one and this pesky minus sine x cosine or cosecant of x. But if we go to simplify this yes is 1. I can't really simplify cosecant or sine. But here, remember, I have sine of x times, well, cosecant is 1 over sine, so it's the same as sine over sine of x because this is on top. I'm just transferring it. So that's equal to 1. So sine times cosecant is equal to 1. So I get 1 plus cosecant of x minus sine of x. And then I said this again is equal to 1, so minus 1. Again, that came from, we rewrote cosecant as 1 over sine. And then I rewrote sine over sine as 1. Now I have a 1 and a negative 1. Those are going to cancel each other out. So then I get cosecant of x minus sine of x, which is the proof I wanted to get to. That's where I wanted to be at, so I know I'm done. So I can put a box saying, hey, I have finished the proof. Then you go on to number 8. Definitely you're going to want to start with the left side here because I don't know how to rewrite 2. I just don't. So I'm going to go ahead and start with rewriting my left side to show this is the side I have chosen to start with. Now, the only thing I really can do, it's all in terms of sine and cosine already, but this is squared and this is squared. So I'm going to break these down and figure out what they are. Remember, anything squared means I'm going to take this cosine of x minus sine of x and times it by itself. So I'm going to rewrite that. And then I'm going to do the same to that. So I got plus, well, it's squared, so it means cosine of x plus sine of x times cosine of x plus sine of x. Again, that came from the squared. Squareds means you take it and you times them by themselves. So now I'm actually going to do the only other thing I have left, which is FOIL these out. Cosine times cosine would give me cosine squared. Cosine times negative sine is negative sine x cosine x. Negative sine times cosine is negative sine x cosine x. And then negative sine times negative sine is plus sine squared x. So that all just came from FOILing this part out. So now I got to do plus And I got to do the rest of it. So cosine times cosine is cosine squared. And then I get cosine times sine, which is cosine x sine of x. Sine times cosine, it's positive, so sine x cosine x. And then sine times sine is sine squared of x. Okay, again, all of that came from taking this and foiling it out to get that. So, now, I'm going to combine any like terms, simplify, all that stuff. So I have a minus sine x cosine x and a plus sine x cosine x. So those are going to cancel out. I have a negative sine x cosine x and a positive cosine x sine x. Those cancel out. So then I am left with cosine squared of x plus sine of x squared, and then plus cosine squared plus sine squared. Now I got a bunch of squareds in there, so we got to remember our trig identities, which say, hey, sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. Well, yeah, I have cosine and sine right here, and they're adding, so I know all of this is equal to 1. And then I have the plus symbol. Hey, here's another cosine squared and another sine squared. Again, I know from my identity that that's equal to 1. So all that equals 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So I got all of this equals 2, and my proof is right here. So then I am done, so I'll put my little box.